So the whole point of these videos, these Jacob Talks, Native Talks, or whatever, is to target the other 60–70% of Native individuals, Native young people that are kind of finding themselves in a rut, you know? That was the whole drive behind this, is to kind of teach them, well, this is what I did, this is what I was doing, and this is how I took action, and this is how I was, you know, succeeding or persevering. And I know that there are somewhat of a large amount that are doing really well for themselves, you know? But what about the other ones? And I've always thought about that, you know, what about the other ones, the ones that aren't doing that well and that are struggling, you know? That's the whole reason behind this. And I always wanted to give a helping hand. I sometimes feel that us as Indigenous people, we get a little too comfy, you know, and I see it all the time, that us as Indigenous, you know, we kind of like to just stay in our comfort zones, and that's okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but I just feel like if you want more out of life, why not? I mean, you'll never know unless you try. And I think it's really good to see, you know, Indigenous people going places and doing big things, you know, going after that bachelor's degree or just graduating high school. Good for you. What's next, you know? It's good seeing all these people doing this, because I think it's going to make us a better people, you know, 10, 15, 20 years from now, you know? And we're changing the cycle. That cycle of just, you know, not progressing, or, you know, just kind of idling. And I think we need to push to expand as Native nations and as Native individuals. We need to be ready to take on the world, because it's there. It's right there. It's ours. Go after it. And I think it's very important to cross that line, to cross that border, because psychologically we're so used to being oppressed or told where to go, told what to do, you know, from day one. We're just a number. And when in reality we're human beings, and we have every chance to make it in this world. And you know, we need to start taking advantage of what's been presented to us. So I think something that's important in Indigenous communities, for, you know, the individuals that are kind of find themselves a little stuck in a rut, is to get inspired. Get inspired, you know. Stop not living your life, you know. Stop doing that. Live your life. Take action. If you see somebody that's doing stuff, you know, look at him. Write him a message, ask him or her, and be like, hey, how did you do that? How did you accomplish that? How did you get, you know, out of that rut? Because we all get into these little ruts, you know. The key is how to get out of them and to continue living our lives, fruitful, happy lives. A lot has to do with choices. If somebody is stuck, you know, in a rut, you know, reach out to somebody, you know, like your grandma, you know, your uncles, your mom, your dad, if you have them. Talk to them. They'll counsel you. This is what you need to do, and listen. A lot of times we don't listen. It starts with just doing the little things. Get out of bed, make your bed, clean up your room, clean up your house. You know, from there, clean up the outside of the house, you know. Take care of your car. Okay, let's move to your bills now, pay your bills on time, and so forth, you know. You start, you know, doing these little things, and pretty soon you start to work. Okay, well, let's get them a job, you know, or maybe you want to be self-employed one day where you still got to work for it. So for example, you know, when I first got approached to work for my reserve in the upper departments, I was really nervous. You know, I was really nervous because I didn't know if I had what it took to do the job, to accomplish the job, the tasks, you know, that all went with it. And this was about 3 years ago when I was approached to work and do, you know, the job with the executive staff. And at first I was really nervous, but after a while I decided, you know what, you got to cross that border. You know, you got to develop yourself, you have to grow. And I thought that was going to be a very positive thing for me, so that's why I took advantage of it and I crossed that border. And that was just, you know, career-wise, but there's other ways too. It'll train youth, Native youth, Indigenous youth, to start taking initiative, to start doing things, to start accomplishing tasks, start pushing their limits. And I think the end goal is a happier, fruitful life. And my vision is to see, you know, more youth starting companies, small businesses, being business owners. I see more youth being CEOs, presidents of corporations and foundations, starting nonprofits, becoming future leaders, and really taking back, you know, Turtle Island. I mean, enjoy it just how everybody else is. You know, the Latinos, the Caucasians, the African Americans, the Polynesians, you know, the Asians. You know, we want to be a part of that. So I think that's why it's important to start doing these things now. You know, in your teenage years, your 20s, even if you're in your 30s, it's okay. Your 40s, whatever. Empower yourself. Empower yourself to take action. Hold yourself accountable, of course, and take action. Never forget who you are or where you come from. You're indigenous, you're beautiful. You come from a very rich, beautiful background, cultural background that I think at times we seem to be losing it every day we are. And it's a challenge because we're born in this, you know, this modern world, and we're forced to either walk the left, which is our culture, traditions, or we go right. And I've always said, you know, to make somebody fully grounded, we have to walk in the middle. Both feet planted in both worlds and walk straight. At times we may go left a little bit more than we do right. At times we may go right, but it's finding that balance between the two that is really important. And I encourage people to, you know, get involved in their communities back home, help out, volunteer. You know, they need teachers, we need lawyers, we need doctors, we need businessmen going back to the reservations, the First Nations reserves, to help out, make things better back home.